In the distant reaches of space, orbiting the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri, lay humanity's pride and joy. The colony of New Hope. The settlement gleamed like a pearl against the rusty landscape of Proxima Centauri, its towering domes and sprawling agricultural sectors, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Administrator Hansel stood at his office window, gazing at the artificial lakes that dotted the terraformed landscape. After 15 years of tireless work, the colony had grown from a simple outpost into a thriving community of 50,000 souls. The morning light painted the domes in shades of amber, while colonists moved about their daily routines in the streets below. His daughter Ji-woo worked in the atmospheric monitoring station, continuing her mother's legacy after her passing 3 years ago. At 25, she had become one of the colony's most skilled environmental scientists, responsible for maintaining the delicate balance that kept their artificial atmosphere stable. That morning, Ji-woo sat at her monitoring station, her fingers dancing across the holographic displays as she analyzed the latest atmospheric readings. The colony's shield generators had been performing perfectly, maintaining the protective bubble that kept their breathable air from dissipating into the thin Proximan atmosphere. Secondary oxygen recyclers are running at optimal levels, she noted in her log, pushing a strand of dark hair behind her ear. Nitrogen levels holding steady at Earth normal. A soft chime from her console drew her attention. Something had triggered the upper atmosphere sensors. Ji-woo leaned forward, adjusting the reading parameters. The signals multiplied rapidly across her screen. "That's odd," she muttered, expanding the sensor display. The energy signatures were like nothing she'd seen before. They were massive, far too large to be supply ships from Earth, and they were descending rapidly through the upper atmosphere. In the administrative tower, Hansel was reviewing construction plans for a new residential sector when his emergency console flared to life. The colony's eye assistant spoke with uncharacteristic urgency. "Administrator, multiple unidentified vessels detected entering colonial airspace. No recognition codes detected. Energy signatures indicate advanced propulsion systems of unknown origin." Hansel's blood ran cold. The colony had protocols for first contact situations, but something about this felt wrong. The ships weren't attempting communication. They were moving with purpose, spreading out in a pattern he recognized from his military training years ago. An attack formation. The first energy blast struck the colony's outer shield before anyone could react. The entire dome shuddered, and warning sirens began to wail throughout the settlement. Hansel watched in horror as massive warships emerged from the clouds, their dark hulls bristling with weapons unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. "Ji-woo," he whispered, immediately activating his communicator. "Ji-woo, are you there?" "Father," her voice crackled through the speaker. "I'm seeing multiple ships. They're not ours." "Get to the Quantum Communications Center," he ordered, already running toward the emergency elevator. "We need to warn Earth. I'll meet you there." The streets below had erupted into chaos. Colonists ran for shelter as more ships appeared, their weapons charging with an ominous purple glow. The colony's defensive systems activated automatically, but their lasers seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the attackers' shields. Hansel sprinted through the corridors of the administrative tower, his heart pounding. Through the windows, he could see more ships descending, their designs alien and threatening. A message began broadcasting across all frequencies, its translation appearing on every screen in the colony. "Attention, human settlement. This is Supreme Commander Krell of the Galactic Concordat. Your species has been deemed too aggressive for continued expansion. Your destruction has been authorized. Resistance is futile." The second volley of energy weapons struck harder than the first. The colony's shields flickered and failed in several sections. Hansel reached the ground level just as Ji-woo arrived from the atmospheric monitoring station, her face pale but determined. "The Quantum Communication Center," she said, grabbing her father's arm. "It's our only chance to warn Earth." They ran together through the panicking crowds, ducking into the reinforced bunker that housed the colony's most advanced communication equipment. The quantum entanglement system was humanity's fastest method of interstellar communication, capable of instantaneous transmission across any distance. Jiwoo's fingers flew across the controls while Hansol recorded their message. Outside, the sounds of destruction grew closer. The colony's buildings began to crumble under the relentless assault. Earth Command, this is Administrator Hansol of New Hope Colony. He spoke rapidly into the recorder. We are under attack by an alien force identifying themselves as the Galactic Concordat. Multiple warships. Advanced technology. They mean to destroy us. Our weapons are ineffective. This is not first contact. This is extinction. Earth must prepare. The coordinates of our attackers are. The ceiling above them groaned as another blast struck nearby. Jiwoo looked up from the controls, her eyes wide. Transmission complete, she announced. They received our signal. Hansol pulled his daughter close as the command center's walls began to crack. Through the bunker's small window, they could see the massive ships positioning themselves above the colony's central dome. Their weapons charged one final time, casting an eerie purple light over the doomed settlement. At least Earth will know, Jiwoo whispered, clutching her father's hand. At least they'll have a chance to prepare. The last thing they saw was a brilliant flash of light as the Concordat's weapons reached full power. The Quantum Communication Center, along with the heart of New Hope Colony, vanished in a storm of energy that lit up the Proximan sky like a new star. The message, however, had already been sent. Across 24 trillion miles of space, in the war rooms and command centers of Earth, alarms began to sound. Humanity had just received its first warning of a war that would change the galaxy forever. Commander Park Min-soo stood in the control center of Base Asterion, watching as the massive cavern before him came alive with light. The asteroid base had slumbered for decades, waiting for this moment. Now, as emergency lights pulsed and warning klaxons sounded, the enormous underground shipyard stirred to life. Begin primary activation sequence, Min-soo ordered, his voice clear and steady despite the gravity of the moment. Around him, technicians who had awakened from cryo-sleep just hours ago worked at their stations, their movements precise despite their long slumber. The chamber ahead stretched for kilometers through the heart of the asteroid. Row upon row of warships lay dormant in their berths, their sleek hulls gleaming under the awakening lights. Each vessel represented decades of work, combining recovered alien technology with human innovation. First wave power-up commencing, reported his second-in-command. Quantum cores showing green across all channels. Min-soo watched as the first ships began to glow with internal light. The quantum drive engines hummed to life, a sound that resonated through the asteroid's core. Each ship's AI system initiated its boot sequence, running through centuries of programmed scenarios and battle plans. Deeper in the asteroid belt, similar scenes played out in dozens of hidden bases. The vast fleet that humanity had built in secret was awakening. 600,000 warships, each more powerful than anything Earth had publicly revealed to the galaxy. On the command deck of the flagship Korean Phoenix, Admiral Song Hae-rai emerged from her cryopod. Medical officers helped her stand as her body adjusted to movement after years of suspension. Her mind, however, was already racing with battle plans. "Status report," she demanded, accepting a heated blanket from a medic. "All ships reporting successful activation sequences," her bridge officer responded. "The adaptive shield harmonics are functioning at full capacity. Consciousness-link weapon systems are coming online." The Korean Phoenix was humanity's masterpiece. Its hull incorporated materials that could repair themselves, shields that learned from each attack they absorbed, and weapons that connected directly to its crew's trained minds for unprecedented accuracy. "Show me the fleet," Hae-rai ordered, moving to the command center despite her body's protests. The holographic display activated, showing thousands of ships awakening across the asteroid belt. Each vessel was a different class, designed for specific roles in the coming battle. The Thunderbird-class destroyers, small and fast, perfect for hit-and-run attacks. The Mountain-class battleships, heavily armored and armed with the most powerful weapons humanity had ever created. The Ghost-class stealth ships, incorporating technology that made them nearly invisible to sensors. Begin consciousness link calibration. Hyri commanded. She sat in her neural interface chair, feeling the ship's systems connecting with her mind. The sensation was both familiar from her training and strangely new after years in cryosleep. Through the neural link, she could feel the Korean Phoenix responding to her thoughts. The weapons targeted where she looked, the shields reinforced where she anticipated attacks. It was more than controlling a ship. It was becoming one with it. Commander Min-Su's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, Base Asterion reports all ships in this sector are at full power. We're receiving similar reports from bases throughout the belt. Excellent, Hyri responded. Begin formation procedures. I want this fleet ready to move within 12 hours. The ships began to move, thrusters firing carefully as they emerged from their hidden berths. Centuries of planning had gone into this choreography. Each vessel knew its place, its role, its purpose. In her neural chair, Hyri could feel the power at her command. The fleet moved like a single organism, guided by both human intelligence and advanced AI systems. The consciousness link allowed for instant reactions, perfect coordination, and tactical decisions made at the speed of thought. The Concordat believes they're dealing with a primitive species. She spoke to her bridge crew. They saw our colony ships and thought they knew our capabilities. They have no idea what we've been building out here. Through the vast viewing windows of the Korean Phoenix, Hyri watched as more ships joined the formation. Each vessel was a testament to human determination and ingenuity. The alien technology they'd recovered had been just a starting point. Human engineers had taken those basic principles and created something far more advanced. Signal from Earth Command, her communications officer reported. They're asking for fleet status. Hyri smiled, feeling the power of her ship, the readiness of her crew, the strength of the fleet gathering around them. Tell them the Guardian fleet is awake. We are armed, we are angry, and we are coming for the Concordat. The Korean Phoenix's engines flared to life, its quantum drive powering up for the first time in decades. Around it, thousands of other ships did the same, their combined energy lighting up the asteroid belt like a new constellation. Humanity's secret weapon was about to be revealed to the galaxy. The Concordat had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they would face the consequences of their actions. Under Admiral Song Hyri's command, the greatest fleet ever assembled prepared for war. In the darkness of space, 600,000 warships moved into formation, their crews ready, their weapons charged, their purpose clear. The response to the Concordat's aggression was about to begin, and it would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The stars near Rigel shimmered as space itself seemed to twist. 600,000 ships emerged from quantum space, their hulls gleaming in the blue giant's light. On the bridge of the Korean Phoenix, Admiral Song Hyri studied the tactical display showing the Concordat's primary military base. Their defenses are exactly where our intelligence suggested, she noted, her mind connected to the ship's systems through the neural interface. They're not expecting us. Not yet. The Concordat base sprawled across 3 moons orbiting a gas giant. Defense platforms and patrol ships moved in predictable patterns, their crews confident in their superiority. They had no reason to expect an attack, especially not from the primitive species they had just attacked. All ships, execute Battle Plan Typhoon, Hyri commanded. Through the consciousness link, her orders flowed directly to the fleet's neural network. The massive armada began to split into 3 distinct groups, each with its own crucial role to play. Captain Yoon Do-hyun led the first attack group in his flagship, Thunder's Wrath. His force of 200,000 ships would engage the enemy directly, drawing their attention and testing their defenses. All ships, combat formation Delta, Do-hyun ordered. His fleet spread out in a massive wedge, weapons charging. Remember your training. Everything we've prepared for happens now. The Concordat's early warning systems finally detected the human fleet. Alarm signals flashed across their base as their ships scrambled to respond. Du Hyun watched through his neural link as enemy vessels rushed to meet his attack group. "Let them see us," he told his crew. "Let them think they know what we're capable of." The space between the fleets erupted in energy as the battle began. Concordat ships fired their purple energy weapons, expecting the same easy victory they had achieved at New Hope. Instead, their blasts splashed harmlessly against advanced shields that adapted and grew stronger with each hit. While Du Hyun's forces engaged the enemy head-on, Commander Cho Mi-rae led the second attack group in an intricate quantum fold maneuver. Her ships seemed to vanish, slipping through a fold in spacetime the human scientists had spent decades perfecting. "Quantum fold stable," Mi-rae reported, feeling her ship, Swift Justice, surge through the artificial wormhole. "All ships maintain formation. Emergence in 3, 2, 1. 200,000 warships materialized behind the Concordat's defensive lines. The alien forces had committed their ships to facing Du Hyun's frontal assault, leaving their rear exposed. Mi-rae's forces struck hard and fast, their weapons finding gaps in the enemy's shields. "Target their command and control centers," she ordered. "Don't let them coordinate their response." The third attack group, under Captain Kim Jin-woo, executed the most subtle part of the strategy. While the other two groups occupied the Concordat's attention, his ships targeted the supply lines that kept the base functioning. Stealth systems at maximum. Jin-woo commanded from his ship, Shadow's Reach. His vessels, specially designed for covert operations, slipped through the chaos of battle to strike at vital infrastructure. Fuel depots exploded. Ammunition storage facilities went dark. Supply ships found themselves disabled by precision strikes they never saw coming. Jin-woo's forces worked with surgical precision, cutting off the base's ability to sustain a prolonged fight. Admiral Song watched from the Korean Phoenix as her strategy unfolded. The Concordat forces fought well, but they were facing an enemy far more advanced than they had imagined. Human ships moved with perfect coordination through their neural networks. Their weapons, guided by consciousness-linked systems, found weak points with uncanny accuracy. "They're trying to regroup," her tactical officer reported. "Their command structure is in chaos." "Press the advantage," Song ordered. Du Hyun, push forward. Mi-rae, collapse their escape routes. Jin-woo, target their quantum communication arrays. Don't let them call for reinforcements. The battle raged for hours. Concordat ships fought bravely, but they were outmatched by human technology and tactics. Their weapons, so effective against the civilian colony at New Hope, barely scratched the advanced shields of Earth's warships. "Enemy forces are retreating," Du Hyun reported. "Their defensive lines are breaking." "Don't let them escape," Song commanded. "We need to send a message. The Concordat needs to understand what they've awakened." The human fleet moved as one, their attacks perfectly synchronized through their neural networks. Concordat ships fell or fled. Their mighty base, once thought impregnable, burned under the combined assault of Earth's hidden fleet. As the battle ended, Admiral Song stood on her bridge, watching the aftermath through the vast viewing windows. The Concordat's base was in ruins, its defenses shattered, its forces decimated. This was just the beginning. A single battle in what would become a much larger war. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "First objective secured. The Concordat now knows we can fight back. And this is only the start." The human fleet regrouped, their ships showing barely any damage from the engagement. They had achieved more than just a military victory. They had shattered the Concordat's sense of superiority. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not a species to be underestimated. In the wreckage of the Concordat base, the survivors sent their own messages home. They spoke of ships that moved like thoughts, of weapons that learned and adapted, of an enemy far more dangerous than anyone had believed possible. The human counter-strike had begun, and it would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. In the thick of battle near Betelgeuse, Lieutenant Kang Hae-Newell sat at her research station aboard the science vessel Stellar Mind. Around her, the massive red supergiant star painted the ship's interior in shades of crimson. Her eyes darted between multiple screens showing energy readings from the ongoing battle. Something about the Concordat ship's energy signatures kept catching her attention. Each time they fired their weapons or adjusted their shields, there was a pattern. Hae-Newell had spent weeks analyzing combat data, and now, in the middle of another massive engagement, she began to see it clearly. "Computer, isolate frequency patterns from the last 12 Concordat ships," she ordered, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic controls. The data streams appeared before her, overlapping in a complex dance of numbers and waves. In another part of the fleet, Ji-Woo stood before Admiral Song and the fleet's senior staff. She had survived the attack on New Hope by taking shelter in a hardened research bunker, and rescue teams had found her days after the initial assault. Now she shared what she had learned during those terrifying hours. Their ships generate a specific energy field before each attack, Ji-Woo explained, pointing to the sensor recordings she had managed to save. "I noticed it while monitoring our atmospheric sensors. There's always a buildup, like they're charging their systems in stages." Back on the Stellar Mind, Hae-Newell's eyes widened as the patterns aligned in her display. "It's not random," she whispered. "They're quantum matrices. They're cycling through a fixed sequence of frequencies." She opened a communication channel to the fleet command. "Admiral Song, this is Lieutenant Kang. I need to share something urgent about the enemy ships." The information from both women came together like pieces of a puzzle. Ji-Woo's observations from the ground matched perfectly with Hae-Newell's analysis from space. The Concordat's supposedly advanced technology had a fundamental flaw. It lacked adaptation. "Their quantum systems are like old radio frequencies," Hae-Newell explained to the hastily assembled research team. "They're powerful, but they follow preset patterns. If we can generate a counter-frequency, we might be able to disrupt their entire power grid." The next hours were a blur of activity. Hae-Newell and her team worked frantically to develop a counter-resonance wave while the battle raged around them. Ji-Woo's detailed scans of the Concordat ship's attack patterns helped them refine their calculations. "The wave has to match their frequency exactly," Hae-Newell muttered, adjusting the parameters again, but inverted like noise-canceling technology from centuries ago. Admiral Song watched from the Korean Phoenix as the research team worked. The battle in the Betelgeuse system had reached a stalemate. Human ships held their own against the Concordat forces, but neither side could gain a decisive advantage. "Testing ready," Hae-Newell announced finally. "We need a ship to try the counter-resonance wave." A small destroyer, Swift Strike, volunteered for the test. It approached a Concordat cruiser, its new weapon charging. The counter-resonance wave was invisible but powerful, matching the enemy ship's quantum frequency perfectly, but in reverse. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Concordat ship's lights flickered, its weapons went dark, and its engines sputtered to a halt. The mighty warship drifted helplessly in space, its quantum matrix completely disrupted by the precisely tuned wave. "All ships, implement counter-resonance protocols," Admiral Song ordered. The data packets spread through the neural network, updating every human vessel with the new weapon. "Target their command ships first." The battle shifted dramatically. Human ships projected the counter-resonance waves at their targets, shutting down Concordat vessels with surgical precision. The alien fleet, so dependent on their quantum technology, found themselves unable to maintain power to their essential systems. Ji-Woo watched from the command center as her observations helped turn the tide of battle. "They never adapted their systems," she noted. "They never thought they needed to." Hae-Newell's discovery spread quickly through the human fleet. Ships began generating counter-resonance waves in concert, creating zones where Concordat vessels simply couldn't function. The aliens' technological advantage, maintained for centuries, crumbled in the face of human ingenuity. "They're retreating," the tactical officer announced. "The entire Concordat fleet is pulling back." The Battle of Betelgeuse marked more than just another victory. It revealed a critical weakness in the enemy's technology, one that would change the course of the war. The Concordat's rigid, unchanging systems proved no match for human adaptation and innovation. As the last enemy ships fled the system, Admiral Song called both women to the Korean Phoenix's command center. "Your contributions may have just won us this war," she told them. "Not through superior firepower, but through observation and understanding." Hae-Nul and Ji-Woo stood together, watching the massive red star through the ship's viewport. They had done more than discover a weakness. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its weapons, but in its ability to observe, adapt, and overcome. The counter-resonance wave technology spread quickly through the human fleet. Each ship's AI systems were updated to generate the disrupting frequencies automatically. The Concordat's technological advantage, maintained for centuries, had been neutralized by human ingenuity and careful observation. In the red light of Betelgeuse, humanity's fleet regrouped, stronger than ever. They had found more than just a tactical advantage. They had discovered that even the most advanced enemy could be defeated by careful observation and creative thinking. The war was far from over, but its turning point had arrived. On the bridge of the Korean Phoenix, Admiral Song studied the images from the occupied world below. The Concordat had taken control of several planets, including those belonging to their own member species who had opposed the war. The Lumini, a species known for their peaceful nature, had suffered greatly under the military occupation. "Their cities are under heavy guard," her tactical officer reported. "The Concordat has turned their own worlds into prison camps." Song had seen enough. After the discovery of the counter-resonance wave technology, humanity had gained the upper hand in direct combat. But winning battles wasn't enough. They needed to win hearts and minds. "Prepare the rescue fleet," she ordered. "We're going to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." Han Sol stood beside her, looking down at the world he now knew held thousands of innocent civilians. After being found in the ruins of New Hope Colony, barely alive in a sealed emergency bunker, he had gained a unique perspective on both war and peace. "The Lumini never wanted this war," he said quietly. "Their representatives tried to warn us, but the Concordat silenced them." The rescue operation began at dawn. Human ships appeared in the skies above Lumini cities, their weapons not targeting military installations, but rather precisely disabling the occupation force's power grids and communication systems. Transport ships descended through the atmosphere, protected by squadrons of fighters. Rather than bombs, they carried medical supplies, food, and hope. The Lumini watched in amazement as human soldiers helped their people evacuate from dangerous areas, treating the injured and ensuring no one was left behind. "This is not what we were told about humans," a Lumini elder said to Han Sol as he helped coordinate the evacuation. "The Concordat said you were savages, bent on destruction." Han Sol smiled gently. "We can fight when we must, but we prefer to make friends rather than enemies. This war was not our choice." The rescue operation spread to other occupied worlds. Admiral Song's fleet moved with precision and care, disabling Concordat forces without causing civilian casualties. World after world witnessed humans risking their lives not to conquer, but to free and protect. News of these actions spread through the Concordat's empire. Species that had been told humans were dangerous barbarians saw instead a civilization willing to show mercy even to those who had supported their enemies. The Lumini were the first to formally break away from the Concordat. Their representatives, led by their High Speaker, publicly denounced the war and praised humanity's compassion. "We were wrong about humans," the High Speaker announced to a gathering of alien species. "They have shown us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to protect and save." Han Sol found himself speaking more and more with representatives of different species. His own experience, losing his colony but choosing to work for peace rather than revenge, resonated deeply with those who had grown tired of the Concordat's military rule. "We need not be enemies," he told a council of alien leaders. "Earth seeks neither conquest nor domination. We want only peace and the right to exist among the stars. Admiral Song's rescue operations continued, becoming more efficient with each world they freed. Human ships would appear, disable the occupation forces with their counter-resonance technology, and immediately begin humanitarian aid. The Concordat's grip on power began to crumble. More species followed the Lumini's example, withdrawing from the alliance. Military vessels began defecting, their crews refusing to fight against those who had saved their families. The balance is shifting, Han Sol reported to Earth's leadership. What began as a war may end as a revolution, not through violence, but through compassion. The Korean Phoenix became a symbol not of military might, but of hope. Its arrival meant freedom for occupied worlds, medical care for the injured, food for the hungry. Admiral Song's strategy had transformed the human fleet from an invasion force into a liberation army. In the end, it was not the counter-resonance wave or the advanced human ships that dealt the greatest blow to the Concordat. It was the images of human soldiers helping alien children to safety, of medical teams treating any injured regardless of species, of a civilization powerful enough to destroy choosing instead to protect. Han Sol stood with Admiral Song as another group of former Concordat worlds declared their independence. "We've shown them a different path," he said, "one that leads away from war and toward cooperation." The diplomatic revolution spread across the galaxy. The Concordat, which had begun the war believing they were protecting the galaxy from dangerous humans, found themselves increasingly isolated. Their own member species, inspired by humanity's example, chose a different future. As more worlds joined the growing alliance of free species, the dream of peace began to seem possible. Humanity had won not just through superior technology or military might, but through the strength of their convictions and the power of mercy. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as ancient enemies became new friends, and the galaxy learned that sometimes the strongest weapon is an open hand offered in friendship. The grand hall of the Seoul Conference Center sparkled under the light of both Earth's sun and the holographic representations of dozens of alien stars. Representatives from over 100 species gathered to witness the end of a war and the birth of something new. Admiral Song stood in her formal uniform, watching as Han Sol prepared to address the assembled delegates. Above them, the Korean Phoenix hovered in formation with ships from former Concordat worlds, their presence a reminder of both the war's cost and the peace's promise. "Today, we gather not as victors and vanquished," Han Sol began, his voice carrying across the silent hall, "but as equals, ready to forge a new future among the stars." The Seoul Accords represented more than just a peace treaty. They established new principles for interstellar relations, guaranteeing the rights of all spacefaring species while creating mechanisms for peaceful dispute resolution. In orbit above New Hope Colony, construction ships from a dozen worlds worked together to rebuild what had been destroyed. Jiwoo walked through the growing settlement, now twice the size of the original colony. Where once there had been only human structures, now there stood buildings incorporating the architecture of many worlds. "The gardens will be here," she explained to a group of alien botanists, species from every world growing together. A living symbol of what we can achieve through cooperation. The mystery of humanity's preparation for the war found its answer in an unexpected place. Deep in the archives of the Korean Phoenix, researchers discovered that the alien ship that crashed centuries ago had carried a message. The vessel belonged to the Guardians, an ancient species that had foreseen the rise of the Concordat. "They left us their technology," Admiral Song explained to the assembled council, "not to wage war, but to prevent it. They hoped that by giving humanity the means to defend itself, they could stop the cycle of conquest before it began." The Galactic Heritage Museum rose from the restored plains of New Hope, its spiraling towers incorporating elements from Earth's greatest architectural achievements. Inside, Han Sol and Jiwoo worked together to create exhibitions that told the story not just of the war, but of all those who had worked for peace. "Here we honor not just victories," Jiwoo told visitors, "but moments of compassion. The soldiers who risked their lives to save civilians. the diplomats who chose words over weapons, the scientists who turned their genius to healing rather than harm. Admiral Song's fleet underwent its own transformation. The mighty warships that had defended Earth now patrolled trade routes, protected scientific expeditions, and responded to natural disasters across the galaxy. Their crews trained alongside aliens who had once been their enemies. "We keep the peace," Song would tell her officers, "not through fear, but through respect and understanding." The ancient artifacts that had given humanity its technological head start became the foundation for a new era of scientific cooperation. Research teams from all species worked together, studying the Guardian's legacy and advancing it in ways its creators could never have imagined. On Earth, the secret shipyards that had protected humanity for centuries opened their doors to the galaxy. Their advanced manufacturing capabilities now produced vessels of peace, exploration ships, medical transports, and scientific platforms. Han Sol found himself teaching the next generation of diplomats, both human and alien. "The greatest power," he would say, "is not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to know when not to." Jiwoo's work at New Hope became a model for colonies across the galaxy. Species that had never cooperated learned to work together, sharing their knowledge and resources to create settlements that could sustain all forms of life. The Korean Phoenix, once the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet, became a symbol of the new order. Its massive hull was repainted with symbols of peace from 100 worlds. It still carried weapons, but they were secondary to its new mission of exploration and diplomacy. In the decades that followed, the galaxy changed. The Concordat's dream of military dominance faded into history, replaced by a network of cooperation and mutual support. Earth took its place among the stars not as a conqueror, but as a mediator and friend to all species. The final exhibit in the Galactic Heritage Museum showed a simple image: the ruins of the first New Hope colony next to its rebuilt successor. Below it, words in 100 languages carried the same message. From destruction came understanding. From war came peace. From the ashes of the old, we built something new. As the sun set on New Hope, casting its light across the rebuilt colony and the ships of many worlds in orbit above, Han Sol and Jiwoo stood in the museum's observation dome. Their work had helped shape a new galactic order, one built on the principles they had learned through hardship and triumph. "We did more than survive," Jiwoo said softly. "We showed the galaxy a better way." The stars stretched out before them, no longer a source of threat, but a promise of endless possibility. Humanity had earned its place among them, not just through strength and preparation, but through the wisdom to choose peace when peace was possible. And in the deep silence of space, the legacy of the Guardians lived on, their ancient hope for harmony finally realized in ways they could never have imagined.